What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Taste Like Music. Jason and Joe here. Album of the week. This is where we review records submitted to us by our patrons. We're still getting caught up a little here from when I was sick. We fell a few weeks behind, so we're not going to couple out all at once here. Don't know how quick we'll release them, but you may notice similar attire. Today we're talking about the debut album from Swervedriver from 1991. It's called Raise, released on the famous indie label called Creation. Considered like one of the big shoegaze records of the era, along with Slow Dive and My Bloody Valentine. Three of the tracks on this record came from a previous EP. Six of the tracks are new. I guess, I mean, you could make the argument that they're one of the defining shoegaze bands of the era, but I don't think they've stood the test of time quite as well. I think they're a little bit more forgotten than My Bloody Valentine and Slow Dive. And I think you can see other influences in their sound. I think they're the most American sounding of those bands. You can hear some like Sonic Youth and Dinosaur Jr. Coming through in their sound. But in 2016, Pitchfork named this the 15th best shoegaze album of all time. All right, so why don't you start us off with what you think of the songwriting?
Well, songwriting, I don't know if there's any actual songwriting going on here. It's just guitar noise, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't hear a lot of like purposeful, tight pop songcraft here. It's very vibey. It's very, hey, let's just let these guitars go wild. There is a I don't know if why exactly a fascination because they are British. So it is odd to hear them talk so much about like cars and like wide open spaces and roads. And it's very like American Midwest, despite the fact that they're from England. Never in a million years would have pegged them as being British. I don't think if I hadn't looked it up. They just don't sound anything British to me. Maybe like a hint of like Stone Roses in there, in some of the guitar sounds and feel. But what they're singing about and the way they play, I get a lot more American from them. So that was interesting songwriting wise. I think, yeah, it's a vibe more than tight songcraft.
Yeah, I wrote down also not really a songwriting type of band. I mean, there are songs, he's singing words and there's lyrics and melodies, but I don't think probably wasn't sitting down and like writing them on an acoustic guitar or piano or something. I imagine they were just jamming and he put words to it. So it's kind of unfair to judge against like that type of songwriting. But I don't think the songs are very like sticky or memorable. And for me, I think the melodies and what he's doing vocally often sounds like it's working against what the guitars and the music are doing. Like often feels like rhythmically it's pushing against it and like um kind of dissonant in certain ways. Like I don't feel like the parts always feel like they fit together. But I will say, harmonically, a lot of interesting stuff going on with the guitar, some cool guitar playing, and the drums are really cool and all that stuff. We'll talk about that more with when we talk about the musicianship and the playing. But yeah, I think as it pertains to the songs themselves, I think, the most interesting part of the songs is what's happening with the guitars. Musicianship, we can just segue right into it.
Boom, there it is. Yeah, musicianship is where this really shines for me. I really like the guitar. I like the heaviness of it. Really like the tones. I like the playing a lot. It's weird, very active, constantly shifting and moving around. Very, keeps you off balance. It's like you get a little seasick listening to it because it's just shifting all over the place. The vocals basically get just, pushed down in the mix so that it's just guitar and bass and drums. Real nice bottom end on the bass by Addy Vines, his name. Big and thick, nice sturdy, steely, big bass notes. And yeah, it's kind of just lets the guitars do their thing. And yeah, some really great playing. Son of Mustang Ford, really awesome. Convulsing guitar line is what I wrote. Amazing tone, just so heavy. And it kind of covers up any out of key singing and sort of just the aesthetic that I don't love when it comes to singing. I don't mind too much because you're just getting blasted by guitars the whole time.
Yeah, I agree. This is the strength of the record. There's really cool guitar playing throughout. A lot of really good drumming too, and yeah, I would say they're a tighter band than something like Dinosaur Jr., especially at least where Dinosaur Jr. was in 1991. I think for having such like this noisier approach with like the wall of guitars and stuff, they seem very tight as a band and very together. It's not like just feedback just washing over. It's more, tight and together than that. Really good bass playing on the track Sunset too. So I think everyone sort of gets their chance to shine a bit. How about the production?
Well, production's good, I think, for what they're going for. Like it is shoegaze. And so that, sort of lends itself to a certain sound. But I don't know if this is like, I guess I'm not that experienced in shoegaze, but to me, this sounds a little more, I don't know whatever Dinosaur Jr. kind of is, and less sort of like that, staring down at your navel type of uh, feel that I usually get from shoegaze. It's more active. And I think the production, with the guitars just being the focus on everything, I don't know, it just doesn't seem to have time for that sort of mopiness. And I just think, I don't know, the production's fine. Everything they do is fine with me because it really emphasizes the guitars and the bass and the drums, and that's what matters. And everything else is secondary, and the production does a good job of highlighting that.
I actually think the production's a little bit of a weakness on this record. Um, I don't think it's quite to where it should be for what they're going for. I think if you listen to their next record, Mezcal Head, has way more muscle, it's way tighter, and it's way more in your face, and I think it works for what they're going for. Compared to like Loveless or something, which has like this dreamier quality to it. Uh, this doesn't have that, so I think that added muscle is important, and it's kind of missing. And I think this record sits kind of flat, and I don't know, it just doesn't sound as interesting, for a genre like shoegaze that is like all about this kind of aural assault and just like washing over you and being all encompassing. I don't think this really goes far enough in doing that. So yeah, I think it's just, I mean, it's not terrible, it's not bad, it sounds okay, but I just don't think it's quite to the level where they probably wanted it to be and where they would go on their next record even.
I will say, before we move on, I've heard Mezcal Head, and I like the sound of this one much better.
Interesting.
I don't know, Mezcal Head seemed a lot, I don't know what the right word is for it. Maybe like too polished and too produced, and this one's just kind of like whatever and kind of messy. And I think I appreciate that better with this kind of guitar attack.
All right, best and worst track.
Best track, I gotta go with Son of Mustang Ford. But I don't know, there's not really any bad tracks. Maybe one of the last two. It's either Feel So Real or Sandblasted, which kind of just meh for me.
By far my favorite on here is Pile Up. To me, that's the most Dinosaur Jr.-esque. I think you can hear a very clear Dinosaur Jr. influence on that track. I have three written down for worst, and they are the three from the EP: Son of Mustang Ford, Rave Down, and Sandblasted.
Yeah.
I think you can, if you click through, you can hear they're a little louder and harsher sounding than the rest. I think you can tell they're from a different recording era. So to me, they just don't sound as good, and that's kind of really what this record's all about is kind of the sound and the way the guitars hit you. So those ones just slightly off. They're not much worse, but just a little bit. Score for this.
I'm actually going 4 stars. I thought it was pretty cool. Just the assault of guitars is great, and it's very consistent to me. Albums like My Bloody Valentine, Loveless. I love some of the songs, but Yeah, when they are not just like all out full force guitar, I lose interest. And this one just pretty much assaults you the entire way, and I dig it.
Well, I'm actually only going 3 on this one. I thought it was just all right. I wanted more memorable stuff going on. To me, it just kind of turns into a blur of a very similar guitar sound the whole way through, so it was okay. If you've heard this record, let us know what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit the like button, subscribe. Check the video description for links to our Patreon and our merch. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.